Oh, no, it's fine.
Oh, great.
I don't want you to go through all that.
All right, I said, actually, does anyone have any questions kind of before we go on conceptually? So we'll get into this into practice in a few minutes, but I want to make sure everyone understands the data flow before we get into the meat and potatoes. All right, silence is golden. Okay, so like I said, remoting is one of PowerShell's best kept secrets. And again, it's one of my personal favorites. The reason why I like it is because it saves so much time, some of your time, so that you can go on and you can fight fires doing wherever you want or being proactive. And it's also because it's consistent across the board. Whether I'm running it on one machine or 100 machines at the same time, it's always going to execute the exact same way every single time. For instance, here, if I wanted to install IIS on 60 servers, doing through the GUI, clicky next, it's going to take me about 5 minutes per server on every new server I build. And that's just a complete waste of everyone's time. So if I can create a script that does this, either and then put that said script in a GPO or kind of put it in whatever build process you're using, Ansible, Puppet, DSC, whatever you're using, you know that it's going to be the exact same every single time. And you know that every server is going to come out spick and span exactly like it needs to. And if for some reason it comes out wrong, you just kill it, spin up another one, because it's going to come out the exact same way. Like I said, it's faster, it's easier, and it's consistent. All right, I hate PowerPoint, so that's all the slides that I have. All right, so I'm going to be switching back and forth between. Is that a good font for everyone? Can everyone see that?
It's good for my end.
Awesome. So we're going to be switching back and forth. So this is the ISC. I still use the ISC when I'm doing demos because it looks good for presentations like this. But we're actually not going to be running any code through here. We're just simply gathering that just a nice easy place to put all of our code in, and also because I don't have VS Code installed on this computer. All right, so we're going to be kind of running everything here, and I take that back. I lied. All right, yeah, so we're here in so this is the Windows terminal. So like I said, this is my machine, Windows 10. I am running PowerShell 7. So just kind of show you that everything is cross-platform, cross-compatible as well. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to, so we'll show you a Hyper-V. So you can see all my servers here. So everything is running on Hyper-V. So it takes I have all the network stuff set up in the back, but so the first command we're going to use, actually, I probably should go over here. So actually, the first thing we had to do on our remote servers is we have to run the command winrmqc is the I better block out of this. Yeah. Yeah, so winrmqc is the command line tool. To do this, you can also do enable PS remoting. They do the exact same thing. Now, I've already done this, so it's actually not going to do anything. Kind of run this, and what this does, this creates the WinRM listener that we talked about on port 5985, and it also creates any firewall rules that are created. So if you had the Windows firewall on, this command will go through and go ahead and have that firewall rule in place. All right, so that's just kind of that. So that command. So I said I already ran those on my machine, so we don't have to worry about that. All right, so first let's talk about one-to-one remoting. So one-to-one means I'm going from my machine here to, in this instance, we're going to be the domain controller. Oh, it also helps. So I should say this Windows 10 machine is not on my domain, so that's why I'm getting access denied. And I was being bad and not using parameter names. Now, I should also point out, because I am on Windows 10 and because I'm using Hyper-V, instead of the host name parameter, I'm using the VM name parameter. Just note that they do the exact same thing. Or in this instance, this is allowing me to hop into Hyper-V on my local machine. If I wasn't on Hyper-V or if I was in one of these other boxes, I would just use hostname. And so we'll bounce back and forth, so you get a chance to see all that as well. What is that? What? Okay, we'll just go this way then. This is what I get for messing with my lab right before we start. Don't tell me all my boxes are first. All right. Credential, that's where I'm messing up. It's not using image credential. All right, so another thing that I should mention. So because here I am logged in underneath the account admin, so we can kind of see that right here. Actually, I could just do this. So I am logged underneath the account, so domain admin. So that's the account that I'm logged in under. So unless you use the credential flag, it's not going to pass. It's not going to pass the credentials. It's just going to use the Kerberos token that you already have, which is what was the problem on my Windows 10 machine, is because I was using username instead of credential. So again, because I'm already the admin who is already domain admin, I don't have to pass the credentials over. It's just going to pass my Kerberos token. It's going to think about it for a minute. There we go. So we know that we're in a remoting session because now, unless you've been messing with your prompt, I don't know if you followed us on Power Hour last week or you follow Thomas Rayner at all, but unless you've been messing with your PowerShell prompt, so this is the default prompt right here. As you know, you're in a remote session because it's going to put the computer name of the remote session right here, immediately to the left. So I can run the command host name and I can see I'm on DC01. So if we were to go back and pull up our PowerPoint and look at our picture again, so I'm on the server 01, entered the session. So I created an HTTP connection to my domain controller. And now I'm actively on that domain controller running commands. So I can so I can run any command that's on that machine. So for instance, get 80 user is not in the 80 module is not installed on my domain controller, but it is on the or it's on the domain controller. It's not on my server. So that's how we can run all of our commands. So anything I do here is executing via an asset or a PowerShell. This PowerShell, see this process right here. This is actually me. This is actually the process created when I wrote it into it. And so these are all the processes running on the domain controller. So that's entering a session. When you're doing kind of remoting, you're trying to save some time doing something. This is actually no different, really, than kind of RDPing into machine. You're still limited to a machine at a time when you do it this way. Yeah, it's
so
great for trouble.
James, if you stay on a remote session and then let's say you close the window, will it still run the session, or does it actually get disconnected or like killed?
I'll put a pin in that because we're coming to that. But the answer is a little more complicated than just a yes or no question.
Okay.
Okay. So again, that was one. So unless for some reason you're running your domain controller all on core, which if you are, great for you, and if you're not, you really should. Or your SCCM servers or kind of whatever. There's really no reason to do this one off. Obviously, if you just need to run a command on a machine, then yeah, that's great. But very rarely does that kind of really happen. At least in my case, it was, hey, I need to run this command, get this information from all the machines, that we have running. So that's what's going to go from our one-to-one to our. Actually, I take that back. I'm skipping ahead of myself. There we go. Right here. All right, stop that. Okay, so I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. I did forget about this one command here, which is going to be super important here in a minute. So again, we entered the PS session is where we entered a very interactive session. Everything I did, I typed on the keyboard, got processed on our remote machine, and brought back to us, just as if I was on the local machine. We can use our other friend, invoke command. And we can pass, in this instance, we're going to pass a script block. So inside the script block, you can kind of put anything that you want. So we're just going to get service. We're going to pick on the bit service because it doesn't matter really what you do to him. It always bounces back. So this command here, invoke command, computer names, my domain controller, just script block. And then we're I just want to get the status of the service bits. Bits is on every computer from Windows XP on up. So it's a great demo if you're ever just trying to get data back from a machine, because it's always there. So you can see in this instance, bits of stock, which is fine. But what did this command actually do? So this took this command inside the script block, everything here inside the squiggly brackets, sent that HTTP request over to my DC01, processed it, and then brought the information back and puked it back on my screen. So does that kind of make sense? So it's not really, so I can't just open up an interactive session with invoke command. It's do what I tell you to do, get the information, send it back, and puke it back to my screen. The problem is it's when the information is being sent back, it's deserialized. So if I do I knew this was going to be a bad idea. So if I'm here on my local machine and I run get service bits and I want to select the status of it, so all I get is the status. So I get this, I get the status of it back. So the get service bits gives back serialized information. I can then select object and kind of do whatever I want. The only downfall is this invoke command. You get what you get. You cannot. I should just get converted. So we can see the information that we get back. It doesn't have these properties of status and name, display name, computer name. It doesn't have any of that. What it's giving you is the information from a deserialized point of view. So all it knows is the computer name that it came from, and the name of kind of what it's giving you, but you can't pipe and you can't select. Now you can do all of that inside of these brackets. We can do this inside the brackets, and again, it's gonna bring all that information back to the screen here, just like we would expect it to. Well, kind of like we expect it to. So that is one thing to kind of you want to watch for. So remember, anything coming back to the screen is deserialized. You don't have these parameter name. You don't have all these nice little parameters that you would get on your local machine. So you have to do all of your processing on the local machine to get back exactly what you want. Now, I don't have an example of this because so my lab's been down for a little bit. I'm in the process of trying to sell my house and moving, but I can show you here, instead of a script block, we can give it a script. I think, again, what's the credential?
Yes.
So we can give it a script file. It's path, I think. I believe it's path. I'll have to double check this, but I can give it a path to a file. And so if you already have a file for some reason that you're sharing with your team, or you have on a shared drive or something, you can also use the invoke command, pass this to your computer name, and you can just give it a PS1 file, and it will then execute that PS1 file on the machine and puke back the results back exactly like you were like you would expect it to. Just like if you were putting everything back here in the script block like we were doing before. All right, so that's the one-to-one remoting. So now we're going to move to the concept of one-to-many, which is what we really should be using remoting for. So we one thing that mindset that everyone kind of, if you don't already have, how you suggest you kind of start thinking this way, is that you need to start thinking of everything you do is how can I run this on 500 machines at a time? It's like, I don't need to run this on this one machine this one time and throw it away. It's like, no, what if I need to run this on 40 machines all at once? So that's kind of how we should start thinking about things. That's how we should start writing our scripts. And we execute a lot of this by doing this this one-to-many. Now we can't enter a session because I can only enter a session to one machine at a time. It's the downfall of it, but I can use my invoke command, my friend invoke command, and actually, let me do this. Nope, because I don't have help updated. So one thing we should note is that this invoke command, the computer name parameter can accept a string of objects, or it can also accept an array. So I can put as many servers in this, here separated by a comma as I want, or I could also run a text file through here, or if let's say you've already grabbed a list of machines out of Active Directory. Maybe let's say you have everything, you want to get some information out of all your machines that are already in a global group. You can just grab all those, put those in a, put those in an array, and then you can run it, something like this. So there's multiple ways to run this invoke command. But in this instance, we're just going to be using our strings. There we go. Again, so I can put as many in here as I want. One thing to note is this is going to run on 32 machines simultaneously. It doesn't matter if you are, I should say up to 32 machines. It doesn't matter if you put 33 machines or if you put 500 machines in this computer name parameter. It's going to run them 32 at a time. And if you're familiar with kind of the POP process of like Java or C++, as soon as one gets done, it's going to pick the next one. And as soon as that one gets done, it's going to pick the next one out of the list. And it's just going to keep going and keep going. Now you can change this. There is a registry key you can change. They can go up to 64 at a time. But the default, so from Microsoft out of the box, is 32. And I've never personally seen had a reason why I needed to change that. But everyone's environment is different. So just know it does kind of chew up some processing power on your computer and can turn your computer into a heat sink if you do that. But it is always an option.
Hey, James.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a throttle limit parameter as well, where you can change how many it is.
Okay, I was not aware of that. Thank you. Okay, so from here, from here it's the exact same thing. I can do my script block. Now, another thing to kind of note here is just because I put these servers in a nice little list, that actually proved my point perfectly. Just because I put the computers in this list, DC01, server 02, it's not going to do them consecutively. Like I said, it blasts this out to everything at once. And as soon as that data gets back, it consumes it and spits it out to the screen. So I would actually see, so this one, server 2, responded first. So it spit it out to the screen first. So if you want to keep that in mind, that it's not going to do this sequentially. It's just going to go, whoever has the fastest connection is going to, you're going to get the results back the fastest from there. And again, remember, you're getting deserialized information, so you can't do any selecting or anything from here. All that has to be done inside the script block. So, and then we can also see our file path. There we go. That's the name that I was, that I was missing. And I said these two commands aren't going to work because I didn't have time to go through and add those. Excuse me. But that doesn't mean we can't make. We can make one real quick. Let's see where am I at right now. There we go. So, just out of curiosity, anyone know that the core actually has Notepad installed on it? Kind of cool.
That's new to me. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of things on core that are there. It's just it's missing a lot of the .NET binaries. So you don't get Service Manager or anything, but so the MMC is not there, but Task Manager, so Task Manager is still here. And all those good things. So let me just do this. Actually, I'm going to say because I saved it wrong. All right, so all we have here is, so again, we just created a PS1 file, and all it says is all it does is get service bits. So we can I'm tempting to demo gods. They are like 50 and I am 0, but one day I will win. Will today be the day? That's the question. Oh, actually, okay. Yeah, so that's the file path parameter that we're talking about. So all it was a PS1 file that we just created. And again, all it does is get the bits parameter, and then we selected the name, and then it gave me some of the information that it gives you on its own as part of the remoting process. But that's again, whether it's 2 machines or whether it's 50 machines or whether you're reading from a text file, it's all the same. All right. So anybody have any questions about one-to-one or one-to-many remoting? Kind of getting close-ish to the end. We've got just a few more things. All right. So let's move on. So from what we've seen here so far, so we've just kind of been doing direct moding. Yeah, so we're invoking the command and we're kind of giving it our. Thank you. So we're kind of we're passing our credentials. In this case, we're passing our Kerberos token. So I can always put the credential flag on there. Thank you. So I can always put that credential flag to kind of send everything over. But every time I'm having to put the computer name in, and I'm having to put my credentials in. Another way you can do this is called sessions. Machine's getting a little hot, so I hope that. Come on. There it goes. All right, so the first. So sessions. The way sessions work, kind of think of them as. Just lost my train of thought. I'll come back to that on what you want to think of that of. But so we want to create a new session. So we always store our sessions and variables. Just do a new PS session. We give it our computer name. Here, for instance, DCO1. There you go. So think of sessions as more like placeholders. I could have very easily put a credential flag in here and put the name of and put another user here. Now I don't have a user named James, but I could very easily have put another user here with another credential flag. So if hopefully you're not working with a prompt that's a domain user, hopefully you're kind of using the credential flag to elevate your privileges as needed. So you can put that there. You can also put multiple computers in here, but just for simplicity's sake, right now we're just going to go for one. Now I don't remember who. Sorry, I had it minimized. So I don't know who asked the question about sessions. What happens when a session is created? So when you do the enter PS session without this session parameter right here, but just using the computer name and the parameter, as long as you kind of get into the machine. Yeah, so if you get in the machine, you do whatever you want to do. As long as you type exit, that is going to, just destroy your session. It's going to tear it down and act like like it was never there. The problem and the main reason why I don't like to use sessions is because I forget about these. So you can see I have a session here, and I have a session open to my domain to DCO1. I could have an unlimited amount of sessions open up to this machine if I were to forget about them like I do. And the problem here is every time I open a session to this remote machine, it's going to create a PowerShell process with my session information. So if you keep making new sessions because you forget about them, then it's going to keep consuming all these resources. And then you're going to start getting, you'll see the state here will go from open to disconnected. A disconnected session is still there. That that WinRM listener is still active. And it's still waiting to receive information. You're just not sending anything over to it. And the only way at that point for it to kind of disconnect is you either come in and get disconnected or get a friend to go and reboot the server for you, which is not really something that you want to do. All right, but as I digress. So now that we have our session, so it has a computer name, it has our credential information in it already, again, because we're using the Kerberos tokens here. So instead of using the computer name parameter like we were before, we're going to be using the session. Session name. I believe you can do session ID as well. Oh, just session. So it's just the name we have, and because we put it in a variable here, now I could do new PS session here if I wanted to, but that kind of defeats the purpose at this point. And now again, so it's exactly the same way as before. Now I have an interactive login. I'm on DCL1. So if we exit, but the problem here, if we exit, my session is still active. That's this is kind of the downfall. It's not really a downfall. I'm not going to say downfall because a lot of people who love their sessions. This is the drawback, in my opinion, of using sessions as opposed to just doing the direct remoting like we were doing before, is because you have to remember to remove the session at some point. So if you're going to be putting this in your script, just like if you're doing like with your SQL scripts, the very last thing you have to do is kind of remove your SQL session. So you got to do the same thing here. Now I always just do get PS session removed. This removes all of them. But if you actually knew the name or the ID you wanted, you could put that in there as well. And so once we do our sessions, we can do everything that we could before. We can, in this computer name parameter, we can put our multiple servers. We can put a text file. It's the exact same thing as we did before. Just kind of show you this. Just kind of show you that it does work the exact same way. So we're going to just override a variable called session. Now again, remember I have multiple queues in here, so I can't use enter PS session because that's our one-to-one. So we use our invoke command. Just use our session parameter here. So again, the exact same thing happened, as we expected, just like it did before. But now we can see I have multiple sessions. I have a session here to server 02, and I have a server here. I have a session here to DCO1. Anybody? So any questions about how sessions work? Says again, it's just more to think of them as like a placeholder for a computer name and a credential file. All right, let's see here. I went out of order, so this is all this is doing is showing the deserialized information. Now, I will tell you that the only reason that you should use sessions, in my opinion, or you're going to use them for, at least for as far as remote is concerned, is with the new copy item. I guess the last version of PowerShell 5.1 update came out. So before, if you wanted to copy a file and you had a whole bunch of them, you had to put them in. You had to get an array of somehow, whether it's from a text file or however you're going to do it, and you had to do for each in servers copy item from your local machine to the remote machine, and it did them one at a time and very, very slow. And could take a really long time. I had to do this a lot with print drivers, and it was awful. So there were a couple of modules out there. I know Warren Frame had his invoke parallel, and there's a couple others that could make it faster by spinning up multiple PowerShell processes to handle these so they could go faster. But so the last update with 5.1 that came out, they instituted this destination. So again, I can't demo this because I don't have these files ready for you, but I can walk you through exactly how they work. So we're copying our item so this is a local machine. So this would be your desktop or your laptop machine on something that you're going to copy over. The destination. This is where kind of a lot of people get confused, is because back before we would have to do whack and then the name of the server, that name, or kind of whatever we wanted to do here. But this is the file on the remote machine, or the destination on the remote machine that you want to put this, and then we can put this here to sessions. So to session, and actually I think we might be tempting the demo gods too much, but I think we can take this and do this real quick, because I do have that file, that script file that we created. So again, so copy item. This is my local path. The destination is the physical path on the machine that we want. We'll just put it on the root of C. Should be fine. And I can do my to session that I have here. So again, session that I have these two open sessions to these two machines already. So it's going to do these, and it's going to do this simultaneously to both machines at once. CSS. What? See, I knew I was tempting it. Two sessions. Okay, yeah. Anyways. I wonder if it's from session and not to session. Nope, I didn't think so. Okay, so I'm not 100% sure what's going on there, but session one. Anyway, so that says one of the great things about sessions is this being able to go to and from sessions, being able to send it out to multiple machines at the same time. Kind of very similar to the for each parallel in PowerShell 7. And, you know, in 5.1 we didn't have, you know, if we had a parallel parameter here, that would be great, but we don't, you know, but we didn't. So this to and from session copy item works great. Kind of replaces the need for those invoke parallel and other type modules. So so that's all I have for kind of for remoting Windows to Windows that I've tried for the last 2 days to get SSH up and running on my WSL machine, and it's just not having it. And I think from what I've been reading, my issues are, you know, known issues that are going to be fixed with WSL 2. Again, they pulled a 2004 update, so I can't update my machine. But running if you're going to use PowerShell 7 to kind of go back and forth. So if you're running it kind of on, or so if you're used to it, if you're ever using PowerShell in core PowerShell 6, you know, you had the option of entering PS session, and you could use the use SSL flag. So this would tell it to kind of, you know, to use SSL, you know, over port 22 as opposed to the WinRM. But now with PowerShell 7, you don't have to use the use SSL flag anymore. I can just do so if I had a Linux machine that was accepting SSH requests, it would automatically just kind of go and see, is this a Windows machine or is it a Linux machine, and it'll from there it'll initiate the appropriate command, the appropriate connection. Now you can tell it to use SSL if you wanted to. You can use SSL on a Windows to Windows. You just have to make sure you configure the OpenSSH connections correctly. You know, I've heard of some cybersecurity departments like, oh, you know, we'll allow SSH over port 22, but we're not going to allow WinRM over 5986 or 5985. And you just kind of like bang your head against the wall, and you're like, well, at least I have something. So, and then in this case, I could go into my Linux machine, and then I can, as long as I have, you know, obviously as long as you have PowerShell on your remote Linux machine, you can run these back and forth. Same with your Mac. You know, you can install PowerShell on your Mac and go from Mac to Windows to Linux, and kind of make the whole triangle every which way that you possibly can think of. That's it. So that's kind of all I have on. I know that's kind of very high level, but it's really, so my favorite command is this invoke command right here, because you can put anything you want inside the script block. You can put as many commands as you want. So you can just keep putting anything you want here inside of this, inside of the script block, and just keep executing these commands one after another. Now, one thing I should tell you is that if for some reason you're going to do this and you're going to try to execute a whole bunch of commands at once, as soon as it gets done executing this command, it's going to come back and puke on your screen exactly the order it received the information. So it's not going to look pretty. So just kind of be aware that it's really going to look like someone just like puked on your keyboard and just hit a whole bunch of random keys, because that's about what it's going to look like. Anybody have any questions about about that? The only thing we didn't talk about was passing variables back and forth, and that's because apparently I have an old copy here. But so you have two options for passing variables back and forth. I think the appropriate way today to do that is the using the using command. Let's see if I can find that real quick. Yeah, so you can do
Yeah, you can pass variables and you can pass functions as well that way.
There we go. So it's just, so if for some reason I had, I guess we could just. All right, so we'll just do, what I did, I just created a string called $A, and all it is, the string says test. If I wanted to, if I wanted to pass this variable on my machine to my remote machine, so input command, computer name, DC01. Script box. So if I were to do this right now, I don't have anything called $A in as a variable. It's gonna yell at me. There's no, on the remote machine, there is no $A. Wait for that. So it said, so it didn't come back. What I can do is using A, so $ using colon and then the variable name without the $. That come back, and this should spit out the screen. There we go. So again, all this is doing is telling it to use the variable, the local variable on my machine. It's passing that information over that WinRM connection that we have set up, and then from there you can do with what you want, with what you want with it. Okay, now that's all I have. Anybody have any questions about anything? Oh, maybe. I don't know. Is everyone asleep? Maybe.
I don't have any questions, but I would give you a use case if you're interested.
Or is it me? I can't hear anybody.
Steven just said that he had a use case for you. Can you hear anybody? Maybe it is that.
Okay. All right. So I don't, Matt. I don't know if you guys, or if you guys have any questions or whatnot, but.
Yeah, while he's trying to figure out his audio, I can roll on this. So we had a situation where we had to update upwards of 2,000 servers.
You can hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, let me change my output here. Let me change my output real quick.
This is fun. All right, let's see if I can keep going. So we had 2,000 servers to update a config file on.
Oh, sweet. Okay, I can hear you now.
Oh, there we go. And we didn't know which configuration files had the particular variable we were looking for. So what we started with was something like on line 71, where we were searching the $C share on all these servers. Well, in .NET, once you get over 200,000 file items, it starts to logarithmically slow down. And so we let our initial command run for overnight and it didn't finish, and we let it keep going for another couple days and it never came back and finished. So what we wound up doing was doing the search for files using the invoke command, where the script block was our search command. And so then the search is running distributed across over 2,000 servers, and the results came streaming back to the PC that made the request. And it took approximately 15 minutes to scan 2,000 servers for the configuration file that we were looking for. And so that was one of the instances where we turned the throttle limit up to 128, because we weren't asking a lot of the WinRM session. What we wanted was a ton of them rolling at the same time.
Oh yeah, I think I probably missed. No, I caught most of that. I don't know if there's any questions or anything kind of before that.
No, it wasn't a question. It was more of a use case for why there's a very compelling reason that if you have Windows servers in your environment, and now with the SSH, it's a little more straightforward for your Linux servers. But if you're not in charge of your domain and then you got a security group that you're going to have to get past to enable WinRM, if it's not already enabled, you need to do your homework on why WinRM is safe and how Windows servers are already listening and already using it, whether you enable it for PS remoting or not.
Right, exactly. And so there is a great article, PowerShell Hearts the Blue Team, that is still 100% accurate to this day. That has very compelling reasons on why PowerShell is why it's a good thing, why it's not a bad thing. Obviously, a lot of people are like, oh, but gives everyone unrestricted access. And we're like, well, but yeah, so does VB script. So like, what's the difference? But one thing, kind of at the very beginning of the diagram that I showed you, I told you about the different endpoints. So if you run this command, this get PS session configuration, these are actually all the configurations that are available on your machine for someone to connect to. So by default, we are connecting. If you don't put a session configuration name, you're connecting to this one right up here. This I don't know why this keeps flipping like that, but you're connecting to this session right here. This is a 64-bit session. I said that we talked about, and of course, and you can see who's allowed to get in there. You can create more sessions, whether they're wide open or whether they're constrained using GIA endpoints. So I know I told you at the beginning I was gonna show you that. So I just wanted to make sure I did that before I forgot. But again, I don't know if there's anything someone put that in the chat, but it's the PowerShell Hearts the Blue Team is the name of that the name of that article. Most people who know anything about cybersecurity will at the very least go, that's interesting. We should consider that. I do know there are some people working in cybersecurity departments who don't have any business working there, but that's their problem, not mine, or not yours either. So. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys follow like CIS standards or I already forgot what all the other a bunch of companies that put out baseline configurations, and all of them, except for when it comes from Microsoft, say that WinRM should be disabled, and that's just I think this is kind of using a bazooka to kill a gnat type thing. But I had this exact same argument with my cybersecurity department again, working for the federal government, and we finally won. We finally won the argument, but it did take a while. Okay. I'm just scrolling through the chat to see if I missed anything. I don't see anything. So do you guys have anything else for me, or any more questions or whatnot?
I see in chat, Mike asked a question about the article that you had mentioned.
Can you type? Yeah. So it's PowerShell Hearts the Blue Team. Also, let's see if we can find that link real quick.
Gotcha. Thanks, James.
Yeah, here we go. So ever since they've been moving around the docs and whatnot, the links and things keep changing. But here is the direct link. This works today. I'm not going to guarantee it's going to work tomorrow, but right now that works. And it said, Dwayne, as long as OS is patched and a max fail login attempts. Yeah. So one thing to just Dwayne, you might kind of think of, so This is going to work the exact same way as if you had failed logins over an RDP session. If you keep failing so many times, it's going to lock your whatever your threshold limit is in Active Directory. You're going to hit that, and your account's going to be locked out for whatever your duration time period is. Anybody have anything else? All right. Well, I appreciate you guys giving me the chance to come and talk to you about this. As it said, so remoting is kind of my favorite, probably my favorite piece of PowerShell. That kind of gives you the power to do anything and everything on a whole bunch of machines all at once. So.
Thank you very much for presenting that. It was good to see all the different like ins and outs of remoting in one go. I know that when I was trying to figure that out for the first time and seeing all the different ways of getting into a machine, it was a little overwhelming. So that'll be great.
Yeah, I said, and if you are ready to kind of deep dive into SSH remoting on Linux machines, Anthony Nocentino has a very good 90-minute session that he did at PowerShell Summit in 2019. So that's on the PowerShell.org YouTube channel. It's probably one of the best interactive articles that interactive things you're gonna see. What he does, he goes through building an SSH connection. So it's straight SSH. It's not actually PowerShell. But once you have SSH running on the machine, at that point, all you do is just switch from PuTTY terminal to PowerShell terminal and use enter PS session. But he has a great 90-minute session on configuring SSH on your Windows machine on your Linux machine on how to make those two talk to each other.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again. We really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no problem. And for some reason, if you guys aren't busy, you want to join us on Tuesday. So every other Tuesday we do PowerShell Power Hour. So this next week we're going to be at 2 p.m. Pacific talking with Yap, talking about PowerShell debugging. So if you guys kind of want to, if you have a free hour and you want to hang around, or if not, that'll be posted on YouTube 2-3 days later. But yeah, we'll be live streaming on Twitch. So if you guys would like to join us, we'll be glad to have you.
Feel free to shoot me that link as well, and I'll send it out to the group in an email.
Yeah, I'll do that here in just a little bit.
That'd be great.
All right, well, guys, I appreciate it. It is 10:30 here, so I'm gonna me and my wife are getting ready to go to bed. So we appreciate it, and I guess y'all have a great rest of your evening.
Thanks for taking the time. Have a good one.
All right, thanks, guys.
Great, thank you.